Texas lands an unexpected commitment for the class of 2022. What's up, guys? BK, Brad Kellner. Today is Thursday, July 15th, 2021. Hope everyone's having a great day. Hope everyone's having a great week. Big 12 Media Day is currently going on in Arlington up at Jerry World. The next video that we do will be a little bit of a recap from Big 12 Media Days. I am not in Arlington. I am here in Austin, Texas, but most of the guys at the Horn are up at Jerry World this week. So be sure to keep it locked into the Horn 1049 in Austin, hornfm.com if you're outside the listening area to get all of our coverage from Big 12 Media Days. But I'll definitely post a video or two talking about what we learned from Texas and some of the other Big 12 teams up at Media Days. Guys, we are a little more than 50 days away. I think 51 days away currently from Texas and Louisiana. It will be here before you know it. And for a lot of folks, Media Days are like the de facto start to the college football season. So we are inching closer and closer to college football, which is a beautiful thing. Please like this video if you can. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not done so yet, and tap that little notification bell so you're always informed whenever I drop new content. This video is sponsored by Last Stand Hats. Check them out, laststandhats.com, and use code BK10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase of any Last Stand hat. You can see that code scrolling across the bottom of your screen. BK10 at checkout, 10% off your purchase from laststandhats.com. The best damn UT hats in all of the land. All right, guys, good news on the recruiting front for Texas. Yesterday, the Longhorns landed a commitment from four-star defensive back Austin Jordan, who plays his high school ball at Denton Ryan up in the Metroplex. 6 foot 190, top 200 player in the country, and he's a very versatile defensive back. Some websites, some recruiting sites have Austin Jordan listed as a corner, and some recruiting sites have him listed as a safety. And interestingly enough, the 24/7 Sports Composite Rankings has ranked Austin Jordan as both a corner and a safety. So he's listed as the 10th ranked safety in the class of 2022. He's also listed as the 25th ranked cornerback in the class of 2022. So he brings some versatility. He plays multiple positions up at Denton Ryan. And he's got one more year of high school. So we'll see what happens in his senior year at Denton Ryan. But a good get for Texas and a pretty unexpected get for the Longhorns as well. Look, this wasn't completely out of left field. Austin Jordan released a top 3 a couple of weeks ago, and Texas was one of those 3 schools. But the other 2 schools in the mix, Oklahoma and Ohio State, I think people thought Austin Jordan was way more likely to end up at one of those 2 spots than Texas. It felt like the Longhorns were a third and kind of a distant third in terms of the recruitment of Austin Jordan. I checked out the crystal ball projections from 24/7 Sports too, and just about every single one had Austin Jordan going to Oklahoma. So a little bit of a surprise that Austin Jordan picks UT over OU and Ohio State. And look, that's a double whammy, right? I mean, not only does Texas get better, but Texas also gets a guy who was projected to go to Oklahoma. So Oklahoma takes a little bit of a hit with Austin Jordan committing to Texas as well. And I'll give Austin Jordan some credit, man. He played things very close to the chest all the way through, and he had people guessing until his official announcement. And he just randomly decided to announce yesterday. Austin Jordan, I saw an interview that he did with Orange Bloods. He had the July 13th deadline in his mind for a while, but he didn't really tell anybody that he was going to commit yesterday. And once again, nobody really had any clue where he was going to commit. So Austin Jordan, kind of rare in today's era of recruiting where the projections are wrong and guys don't really have any idea when a guy is going to commit or where a guy is going to commit. So Austin Jordan took a visit to Texas in June. He also went to Oklahoma and Ohio State. And ultimately, he decided that Texas was the right choice for him. He said that Austin felt like home. He talked about his relationship with the Texas coaching staff. He mentioned Terry Joseph a couple of times as well. So tip of the cap to the new corners coach at UT for being able to land Austin Jordan. And the good news for Texas, guys, sometimes when you get this commit out of left field or a guy that you weren't expecting to commit ends up committing, the thought is, all right, well, he's still going to leave his recruitment open. He's still going to consider some other schools. And you know the other schools who thought they had a chance to get him are going to continue to recruit him. Well, Austin Jordan said, I'm shutting things down. That's the exact quote. Quote, I'm shutting things down. I'm focused on my senior season. I'm going to try to bring whoever I can, end quote. And that last sentence has to do with helping Texas recruit for the class of 2022. So great news for the Longhorns. Once again, a little bit unexpected, but you will absolutely take it. The 15th commit for the Longhorns in the class of 2022. And this class currently ranks 5th in the country, according to the composite rankings. It is the top-ranked class in the Big 12 right now. The third defensive back commitment for Texas for the class of 2022, you've got Brian Allen Jr., also known as B.J. Allen, the 4-star safety from Aledo. He's currently the second-ranked Texas recruit for this class behind only Malik Murphy. And you also have Jalen Gilbo, the 4-star corner from Port Arthur Memorial. So 3 secondary pieces committed to UT for the class of 2022. And that's huge, guys. I've got a lot of questions about the secondary this year and also beyond this year. Starting with this year, and I would love to get y'all's thoughts in the comment section below. What's your confidence level with this Texas secondary in 2021? This pass defense ranked 108th in the country last year, and the 2 starting safeties from 2020 are gone. Chris Brown, who I would argue was the best secondary player on Texas last year, and Caden Stearns, who of course is off to the NFL, both of those guys no longer with the team. So you've got to replace both of those dudes. So you've got questions there. Once again, the 108th ranked secondary, or I should say pass defense in college football last year, and you lose your 2 starting safeties. Now, you do have Deshaun Jameson and Josh Thompson back. You bring in Darian Dunn, the grad transfer from McNeese State. So you've got some experience, 3 seniors at corner. Your nickel spot, you've got Chris Adamora and Anthony Cook, a couple of upperclassmen there, but those guys just have not been consistent during their Texas careers. Expectations are high, especially for Deshaun Jameson, preseason All Big 12 player, but I'm not that confident in those guys. I just haven't seen it consistently enough from the corners at Texas to be super optimistic about that position group here in 2021. And then at safety, big questions there as well, having to replace Brown and Stearns. You've got B.J. Foster, but B.J. Foster didn't even start the spring game for Texas. The former 5-star, it's his senior season. It's now or never for B.J. Foster, a guy who I assume wants to play on Sundays. Hopefully he can figure things out and finally be that piece that Texas fans were expecting him to be when he got here. You've got Brendan Schooler, but he's making the transition from wide receiver to safety. I know he played safety to start his college career, was pretty good as a safety at Oregon, but it's been a couple of years since he's played safety, so some concern there. Jaron Thompson there too. Feels like there's optimism and potential with him. But just, yeah, a lot of questions for me about the secondary. So Terry Joseph and Blake Gideon, I think, have their work cut out to try to get the most out of this group. A lot of blue-chip guys. It's Texas. A lot of 4- and 5-stars in the mix in that defensive backfield. But once again, haven't seen it consistently enough with the dudes who are back on campus. So you've got questions about, at least I have questions about the secondary in 2021. I want to hear from y'all in the comments, but you have even more questions, and I have even more questions. Sorry for speaking for y'all. I should let you guys speak for yourself. I'll speak for me. I have more questions about the secondary beyond this season, because you lose Deshaun Jameson after this year. You lose Josh Thompson after this year. You lose Darian Dunn after this year. Anthony Cook will be gone as well. B.J. Foster and Brendan Schooler, both of those guys will be gone next year. So we're talking about 5 to 6 key secondary members in 2021 who will not be back in 2022. It's very important for this Texas coaching staff to cash in on the recruiting trail for this class of 2022, and they're off to a pretty good start. So I've got questions about the secondary this year, but once again, more questions beyond this year because you lose a lot of experienced pieces on the back end. So right now, Texas 3 defensive back commits. That's good. I love that. There are still a few more targets out there that Texas is looking at in the secondary. Denver Harris, the 5-star corner from North Shore. Everybody and their mother wants that dude. Texas in the running. There's no doubt about that, but this guy's getting looks from everywhere. And Alabama very, very much in the mix. And, well, we see how Alabama recruits, and we see how many guys they poached out of the state of Texas over the last few years. That's going to be tough for Texas to land Denver Harris. But the Longhorns in a good spot right now. But once again, Alabama is lurking. A couple of other schools very much in the mix for Denver Harris too. That'd be a massive, massive get. The 5-star, a guy who you could almost – it's always dangerous to say plug and play, because it's a big transition going from high school to Power 5 college football. But, man, Denver Harris, if he's as good as advertised, he's a guy that could at least be in the cornerback rotation at Texas in 2022 as a true freshman. Regardless if that happens, if he comes to Texas, the expectation is that he's going to be an impact player during his time on the 40 acres. Bryce Anderson, the 4-star safety from Beaumont Westbrook. It's a 2-horse race for him right now, Texas and Texas A&M. You know, for the longest time, it felt like Texas had a pretty stable grasp on the Bryce Anderson recruitment. It felt like Texas was in the proverbial lead for Bryce Anderson, but Texas A&M is making a late push, and Bryce Anderson has pushed his commitment date back twice, which scares me a little bit. Maybe I'm looking too much into this thing, but when it feels like a guy is leaning one school and he delays his commitment, it freaks me out. It makes me think that, all right, the other school is starting to gain some ground, starting to gain some traction out there. So we'll see what happens with Bryce Anderson. That'd be a big-time get for Texas. One of the most important pieces. Both of those guys, Denver Harris and Bryce Anderson, are two of my top 5 most important recruits still left for Texas for the class of 2022. Would love to land both of those dudes, but one of them feels imperative with the secondary questions that you have with this team moving forward. Terrence Brooks committed to Ohio State a couple of weeks ago, the 4-star from the state of Texas. I don't expect Texas to stop recruiting Terrence Brooks. I don't know if it's going to do anything. We've seen Ohio State poach kids out of the state the last few years, so maybe Terrence Brooks is as good as gone at this point, but I'm not completely closing the book on that guy just yet. Another name to look out for, Larry Turner Gooden, who is a 4-star athlete from the state of California. He's currently committed to Arizona State, but Arizona State has some allegations against them and some potential penalties coming their way. Larry Turner Gooden may be looking to get out of Tempe and his commitment there. I know Texas has offered. Texas is very much in the mix. He's an athlete technically, but a guy who plays a lot of secondary in the state of California. So a couple of other names to look out for, a couple of names that maybe you're not hearing as much for Texas for the class of 2022. But guys, there's been some recruiting misses for Texas over the last couple of weeks. There's no doubt about that. But landing Austin Jordan, massive for Texas. Comes at a position of need. Look, you can never have too many secondary pieces in the Big 12, regardless of what your current roster outlook looks like. But considering how many guys are going to be gone from UT after this year, imperative for Sark and PK to do a good job on the recruiting trail for secondary pieces for the class of 2022. Now, Texas got some dudes in for the class of 2021. J.D. Coffey we're excited about. Jameer Johnson we're excited about. Ishmael Ibrahim is expected to make some things happen during his Texas career. Those are all blue-chip guys that Tom Herman and Steve Sarkisian were able to bring in this year's class. So that helps. That will help ease the transition, and you'll have those guys on campus for a year before you have the serious problem in terms of numbers that you're going to have for the class of 2022. But once again, huge for Texas to get Austin Jordan committed. Hopefully he puts pen to paper. Hopefully he's true to his word where he does shut down his recruitment and he ultimately picks Texas and I should say signs with Texas. And then Bryce Anderson, Denver Harris, a couple of those other guys out there. Would love to get 5 to 6 pieces in the secondary for this year's class. But tip of the cap to Sark, tip of the cap to PK. Give Terry Joseph some love as well. Austin Jordan commits, and right now Texas has the 5th-ranked class in the country, number 1 in the Big 12 for the class of 2022. So, once again, some misses as of late. Hasn't always been perfect, but still, right now, a top 5 class for Sark in his first full recruiting cycle. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Once again, comment below your thoughts on the secondary for this year, your thoughts on the secondary beyond this year, your takeaways from the Austin Jordan commitment, and whatever else is on your mind. Any ideas for future videos too? I would love to hear from y'all. I do this channel for y'all, so always looking for feedback. Please like this video if you haven't yet. Please subscribe to this channel, of course, if you have not done that, and tap that notification bell as well. LastStandHats.com. Thank you to them for being today's video sponsor. Use code BK10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase. And a reminder to listen to the Triple Option with RBKD every weekday from 3 to 7 p.m. on 104.9 The Horn and online at hornfm.com. All right, guys, appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a great day. Y'all have a great weekend. Until next time, y'all stay safe. Y'all stay healthy. Not a 15-yard penalty here.